Hi everyone, today I'm giving my boy doll his face up, my boy Blythe. Here's what I'm going to be using. The Faber-Castell pastels to blush his cheeks. I'll be using these Derwent Intense pencils and also some Faber-Castell pencils. These are watercolour pencils. Yeah, that's the ones, Faber-Castell. I'll also be using an assortment of brushes. So I've got some of these brushes that one I'll use for blushing. This one I'll use for lips and things. I'll also be using this acrylic paint, like to do the lips and maybe the nostrils with that. I am not the best at doll customising, especially face-ups, but I like to have a try. I'll be using this lid recycled from a cheese pot that I'll reuse to mix my paint colours on, my acrylic paints. So I'm wanting like a peachy colour for his lips. So I'm going to do a mixture of these three acrylic paints to try and get sort of a soft peach. I've got blush pink, canary yellow, and then this rouge. So I sort of want an orangey peach, but a little bit lighter than that. So if I mix red and yellow to make orange and add the pink, it should make it a little bit more of a peachy, fleshy colour, which is what I'm aiming for. Another thing I found is that if you add a little spot of water to it, if you want it to stay matte, add water. If you're going to make it glossy, I add the Liquitex high gloss varnish instead of the water. But because I want his lips to stay quite matte, I've just added a little bit of water. I found that thinning the paint down makes it goes on easier. It's easier to do a few coats and get it smooth than it is to try and do it thickly, and because it is too thick and it goes lumpy then. So I'll add a little bit more of the blush pink to that, maybe just to make it a little bit, yeah, maybe it's a little bit too orange. Let's try an extra little bit of blush pink on there. There we are. Yeah, that's more like it, isn't it? It's not as dark. So I'm going to use this really thin brush. So I'm going to cover the whole of his lips in this colour, and then I'm going to define his lips a bit later on using a darker colour, possibly a watercolour pencil. I sort of know in my head how I want it to look, but I really do struggle to transfer that onto the doll. So that's a coat of paint on his lips. The next thing I'm going to do is to blush his cheeks, and I want that to be sort of a browny peachy colour. I want it to look natural on him. I don't want him to look as if he's got makeup on, just that he's got a bit of a natural glow to him. So I'm going to go with this colour here, which I think is probably what I'm after, like a browny peachy colour it is. Yeah, let's try that one, see how we get on. He's already been prepared for painting and blushing because he has had a few coats of Mr. Super Clear. So you literally just use that like you would if you were blushing your own face, just putting it on the ball of his cheek there, and a little bit up the side of his face as well. Quite pleased with that. That colour is what I envisaged, so yeah, that's worked pretty well. I'm also going to put a little bit of that pastel just on other parts of his face, like around his eyes a little bit on the sides of his nose there as well, just to give him a bit of colour, because he is a flat plain colour when you get him. Then I've got a smaller brush here, and I'm just going to go around the inside of his eye a little bit, just to add a bit of colour to that, just to define it a little bit. So I've used the same colour there that I used on his cheeks. And then just a little light rub over his forehead and the rest of his face with the tiny little bit that's left in the brush. Now I'm taking this brown colour and I'm going to just draw his eyebrows in, and I'm going to draw them as hairs. So I'm going to draw every individual hair. I'm not going to do a block of colour. I'm going to do a block of hairs, if you like, so that they're, you know, little tiny lines that look like hairs for his eyebrows. Now, I have to say I'm rubbish at eyebrows usually, so wish me luck with this. I want his eyebrows to look natural, so I'm going to make them quite heavy, his eyebrows, quite thick, and do think that this colour that I've chosen does match his hair really well too. I wanted him, you know, to have the same colour eyebrows as his hair, and I do think that does match pretty well. I have got a wet wipe ready to just wipe this off if it goes wrong, so you can see that I'm drawing in little tiny lines all the way across and just gradually making it thicker where I want it thicker. And like I say, I'm no expert, but someone did ask me to do a video when I did this, so that's why I'm doing it. Oh, actually that's come out pretty well. I'm quite pleased with that. Now all I need to do is try and replicate it on the other side. So I'm going to try and match it up on the other side. Definitely wish me luck with this one. Trying to mark out the two edges there, and then I can just fill in between with my little tiny hair strokes that I'm doing. I think that looks pretty good. It's quite a good match. Yeah, amazing that is. Amazing for me at least, anyway. So now I'm going to use this like mustardy yellow colour, and I'm going to use that just to do a bit of colour around his eye. I'm just going to do a little tiny bit around the bottom edge of his eye with this colour, and then I'm going to colour in his eyelid as well, to the crease of his eye. I think it just helps make his eyes stand out a little bit more. That's what I think anyway. Like I say, I'm no expert, so I am definitely an amateur when it comes to doing doll face-ups. But yeah, I'm happy with that. Now I'm going to have a little bit of this, a little tiny bit of this chocolate brown, and I think I'm going to do his nostrils with that and try and define his lips a little bit with it. We'll see how we get on. So I'm mixing it in with a little bit of the peach just to thin it down a little bit because I don't want it to be lumpy. I've got my very fine brush as well, and I'm just going to do a little dot in each nostril, see how it looks. I have got my wet wipe at the ready in case I need to remove it, so yeah, I'm prepared. So I'm just doing a tiny little dot in each nostril. There we go. Yeah, that just defines his nostrils a little bit. That's all I wanted to do. Just going to try and make the nostrils a little bit bigger. And then I'm going to use my wet wipe just to dab a little bit to make it not quite so dark, just to sort of stain it a little bit. Yeah, I think that looks okay. That looks okay, I think, for the nostrils. The next thing I'm going to do is add some freckles, and to do that I'm using this kebab skewer. It's like a big toothpick really. You can use a toothpick as well. With him having a bigger face than a Barbie, I'm using this because it's bigger and will give him a more realistic size freckle. So you literally just dip it in your paint and then just pop the freckles where you want them. That's how I do it anyway. I mean, I'm sure there are many ways of adding freckles, but this is how I do it. And I'm just putting them across his nose and then a few just down under his eyes. There we go. And if I think they're too dark, I can just dab them with my wet wipe, just to make them look more like a stain than a blob of paint, that's all. So I get a clean piece of my wipe and just, rather than rub, you just dab. Don't rub, sort of just dab like this to dab the thick of the paint off and leave it so that it looks more like a stain. That way, in my opinion anyway, I think that makes it look a little bit more natural. So that's how I do it. Yeah, don't rub, otherwise you'll rub it off altogether or you'll smudge it. There we are. Yeah, I'm quite pleased with that, I think. And then I just think I'm going to do a few more just under his eyes. Oh yeah, there we go. Happy with that I am. And then finally, to define his lips, I'm going to use a reddy brown watercolour pencil, and I'm going to draw some lines on it sort of to outline it and to add a bit of definition to them. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some just water and go over it with water to soften the lines that I've put on there so that it looks defined but it looks more natural. That's my plan anyway. I'm just dipping my brush in some water and drying most of the water off and then just going over that watercolour pencil, and it will just take the sharp lines off and just soften it a little bit to make his lips look a bit more natural. That's the idea anyway. And then just clean up any edges with my wet wipe. and I think he's done. Yeah, quite happy with that. So another little detail to his Cupid's bow there. So there he is, all finished. I'm quite happy with him. Like I say, I'm no expert. I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.